Content warning.
Kyle ran as fast as he could down the long corridor. His boots clomped heavily against the floor, creating a loud mixture of noises that blended with the shifting of his army vest and the jingling of bullets in his pouches. He breathed hard as he ran, only adding to the noises he was making. He knew he should be quieter, but the voice inside his head told him to just keep running. As he did, he readjusted the rifle in his arms. He felt that his whole life would depend on the weapon alone. Although, from what he had witnessed, a gun wouldn't be his salvation if he was caught. So many of his comrades had tried with their own volley of weapons, yet not a single one saved them from death. That monster just won't go down, Kyle thought to himself. What kind of creature can deflect bullets and attack with an unseen force? Kyle bashed through the double doors that served as the entrance to the building. He didn't stop running, though. He hardly took in the sight of the burning city. He pretended he couldn't feel the suffocating ashes enter his lungs and forced himself to look beyond the bodies of the slain individuals littering the streets. His survival was the only thing that mattered right now. "Hey, over here!" a voice called out. Kyle whipped himself around to see the voice's origin. Another soldier, wearing the same uniform and carrying a similar rifle, waved to Kyle from beside one of the only buildings that still stood. Kyle quickly ran over to the other soldier. As soon as Kyle came close, he saw the symbol of status stitched to the soldier's uniform. Kyle instinctively saluted. "Glad to see you made it out alive, Captain Bierston," Kyle spoke. "There's no time for saluting, Kyle," Bierston reprimanded. "We need to leave this place at once. Did anyone else make it out alive?" Kyle shook his head. He felt the sting of admitting the fact. Bierston's expression softened for a moment, giving a glimpse of sympathy to Kyle. "I can't believe it," Bierston muttered. "That monster has been the undoing for so many cities now, and we were the best of the best. How could it have brought us down so easily?" Bierston shook his head. "Never mind. Kyle, we have to fall back. Thankfully, I think I found us a solution." "What did you find, Captain?" Kyle inquired. Bierston didn't respond. He just simply pointed to a large blue truck sitting on the roadside. It looked like it hadn't taken a single scratch despite all the carnage around it. "I already checked it," Bierston noted. "Someone left the keys in there. I don't think the owner is coming back, though, so I think we're free to get the hell out of this place." Kyle nodded. "If you say so, Captain." Bierston nodded back before the two began to run to the truck. Once inside the vehicle, Bierston took hold of the wheel, revving up the engine with the keys he had mentioned earlier. Kyle had barely buckled in before Bierston took off like a madman, with tires wildly screeching as the captain slammed his foot on the pedal. Bierston skillfully navigated the truck through the wreckage and out of the city. Kyle looked behind as an explosion sounded off, followed by the collapse of a skyscraper. Kyle sighed, turning back around to face the road ahead of them. "What do you think that was, Captain?" Kyle asked. "I mean, what sort of creature could do all that? It can't be of our own world, right?" "I have never heard of or seen such a creature, Kyle," Bierston answered. "It shouldn't even exist. The only explanation would be that it's an alien, but I'm sure we would have been alerted to its presence within our solar system long before it came right here to our planet." "So, what do we do now? You and I are the only remaining members of our squad." Bierston remained silent. He didn't look at Kyle, instead continuing to drive. Kyle nervously tapped on his rifle. Bierston finally sighed. "Kyle, I'll be honest with you. I really don't know what we're doing after this. We had one mission, and we failed. We'll have to regroup with the general and see what we can." A sudden force shook the truck, interrupting Bierston's speech. Bierston checked the truck's mirrors, unable to find the source. "Kyle, you felt that too, right?" Bierston asked. Kyle nodded. "Well, whatever it was, I couldn't find it. Maybe this truck is a bit older than that." Kyle gasped as a large, 3-digit hand broke through the driver's side window and took hold of Bierston. Bierston cried out as the hand forcefully ripped him out of his seat and through the broken window. Kyle tried to grab hold of the wheel to stabilize the truck as it began to spin out. His effort failed him as the truck ran off the road after another force shook the vehicle. The seatbelt Kyle wore kept him in his seat as the truck began to spin in the air in a deadly freefall over the sharp hill that lined the road. Kyle deftly tore off the seatbelt and threw open the truck door. He dove out of the vehicle right before the truck crashed into the ground roof first. Kyle struggled to hold onto his rifle as he tumbled down the hill. He gritted his teeth the whole way down. Kyle quickly forced himself upward after he reached the bottom of the hill. He looked onward at the wreckage of the truck he had fallen with, the vehicle's metal exterior ruined by the impacts it had endured. Kyle patted himself off, but a shock of pain flared in his left arm when his hand made contact with it. As soon as Kyle readjusted his rifle, he heard something large land behind him. Kyle quickly turned around, aiming his gun at whatever the thing had been. Kyle gasped as he stared straight into the red reptilian eyes of the creature that towered over him. Although it stood on two legs like a person, the creature was certainly not human. The eyes that stared down at Kyle sat behind a draconic snout, which had curled up into a smile that glistened with sharp teeth. What looked like a chest plate sat on top of the creature's sternum, complete with a long, curved spike above each shoulder. The chestal plate then gave way to the figure's more slender body, followed up by the powerful draconic legs the creature stood upon. A long draconic tail swung around behind the creature, complete with a long spike replacing the tip of the tail. A smaller tail sat attached to the back of its head, although it didn't sway about like the larger one. Another two horns sat on either side of its head, extending back the length of the head, accompanied by two smaller, flat horns under each that lined the creature's jawline. In its left hand, it held a strange crimson sword, sporting a long, single-edged blade and a jagged crossguard. In its right, it held Bierston firmly by the man's chest.
"You really thought you could just escape me?"
the creature said. It spoke in a tone that sounded almost ethereal, but the depth and power of the voice greatly shook Kyle's core.
"I believe that your will to survive is sorely misplaced."
"Put down my captain this instant!" Kyle yelled. "I won't hesitate to fire at you, monster!" The creature laughed.
"Fine then. What was it you said?"
The creature paused before smirking maliciously.
"Put him down."
In one fell swoop, the creature slammed Bierston into the ground. Before the man had a chance to get up, the creature brought its clawed foot down upon Bierston's skull. Kyle's eyes widened in horror as he heard the sloppy crunch of his former captain's head. The creature laughed again.
"Don't look so shocked. It was you that told me to put him down, so to speak, and I did just that."
The creature took a step closer.
"Come on now. Aren't you going to thank me for a job well done?"
Kyle stood frozen in place. He couldn't bring himself to shoot the creature. Something felt like it was tapping on the walls of his mind. The creature smiled.
"Oh, I see why you can't thank me. I haven't even properly introduced myself."
Kyle's breathing quickened as the creature's head drew close to his own. The creature's snout stopped just at his ear. The whisper that followed sent chills down the soldier's spine.
"I am the one that has been called to dispel the light of this world and bring it to ruin. I am the scourge of gods and men, and I am the bringer of your soon-to-be demise. I am Avenir."
Credits.